Hello, everyone. My name is Asfandyar. I work as a local manager with the community by InnoEnergy in Stockholm. And today, on behalf of the community, I would like to invite you all to this speaker event, which we have organized in collaboration with Seeds Investing. Today, we have William, who is the CEO of Seeds Investing. Apart from being an entrepreneur, he is also a second year Masters in Renewable Energy student with the InnoEnergy Masters program. He did his first year at UPC in Barcelona and currently is studying at the KTH Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, Sweden. And originally, he is from the United States. Seeds Investing is a renewable energy crowdfunding startup founded by four of our Masters in Renewable Energy students who established it in Barcelona. Since then, they have gone through the SADE eWorks Accelerator, achieved the first position in Red Bull Basement Contest, and been the finalist in EPAE Conference in 2019. The journey of Seeds from a bold vision to a promising startup is the focus of this talk. Therefore, without further ado, I would hand over the stage to William so that he could enlighten us about his journey and what Seeds has to offer in terms of renewable energy finance. William?
Thank you, Asfan. I appreciate the warm welcome, and thank you all for taking the time to join for this presentation. I'm happy to share about the journey and tell you all a little bit about Seeds. So let's jump right into it. My name is Will Wiseman. As Asfan mentioned, I'm from California in the United States. I am a second year Master's in Renewable Energy Engineering student within the InnoEnergy program. And then I did a bachelor's in mechanical engineering and a minor in entrepreneurship. My work experience goes all the way back to, I started out as a solar installer, actually getting my hands dirty and really working within the industry to learn exactly what it takes to really be part of the energy transition. And that company itself was a startup in my hometown, and I worked for them for 3 summers and really got to see a company grow from just myself and the engineer and the boss all the way up to a full-fledged company. From there, I worked at a artificial intelligence company in Barcelona doing power production forecasting, and then again moved into actual power construction within a company called Helix Electric in the United States. And Helix Electric is the 5th largest solar installer at the utility scale in the United States. So again, got to see some really big projects get built there. And what I felt like through my entire experience was that my work was only limited to the project that I was ever working on. And that for me to be able to really make the biggest difference within the energy transition, I needed to continue to work my way up the food chain and figuring out how is it that we deploy as much renewable energy as fast as possible, and where can I sit that is really at the crossroads and at the axis to make that happen. And so that has been really part of my entrepreneurial journey is trying to figure out where I can position myself to make the biggest impact. So a little bit about Seeds. Seeds is the first fintech that allows you to invest in renewable energy projects with as little as your spare change. And the way it works is that we can both provide you a return on investment as well as offset your carbon footprint at the same time. So what we know is that people feel equal anxiety. They feel like their future is out of their control, that they're on a runaway bus headed for a cliff, and they have no ability to control this. And so what we heard from one of our customer interviews is that their future is entirely out of their personal control, that it is devastating and depressing. Devastating and depressing. That is real personal pain. And what we're looking to do is provide a solution that enables people to act on their feeling of anxiety. People don't feel like they have the tools to make a difference, and they don't know how to do that. So as we all know, climate change is too big of a problem to handle alone. And what we need is something that can really put our collective energy to use. And so I'd like to take a moment to share a story with you about really how the Seeds idea came about. So this is an image of my co-founder and I, Alba, at the Friday for Future March in Barcelona. And while we were there, there was a moment when I stood up on a bench and I looked out over this sea of 100,000 people. And in that moment, I felt hope, but also sadness. I felt hope because I'd never seen so many people come together before for the environmental movement. There was people of all ages and ranges, of all backgrounds, and to see that together, that energy really gave me hope. But then I felt sadness because I realized the next day, everybody would go home and nothing would be different. The politicians would say they heard us, but our emissions levels would still be exactly the same. There needed to be a way that we could harness this collective energy and put it to use. And so I started thinking, what is it that everybody can contribute across the full spectrum? How can we engage and involve everybody and realize that everybody has a little bit of spare change? And so on that day, over 7.6 million people turned out around the world to voice their pain and frustration. In Barcelona, 100,000 people. In New York, 100,000 people. London, another 100,000. And in Hamburg, over 1 million people turned out. This is the environmental movement that we want to take and harness this energy, concentrate it, and deploy it to make a genuine difference. So at the moment, when it comes to increasing your impact, when it comes to climate change, your options are really go vegan or vegetarian. That's really hard. You can fly less, but everybody wants to travel still. You can buy an electric car, but that takes a very significant personal investment. And at the end of the day, what are you getting more than the personal moral value in knowing that you're doing what's right? There needs to be a way that we incentivize and engage people in a way that appeals for all. And with that, we can actually financially incentivize people. So welcome to Seeds. The way it works is just 3 easy steps. You pick a renewable energy project that you want to invest in. You connect us to your credit card, and when you make your next purchase, we round up that transaction to the nearest euro and automatically invest that spare change towards that project fund. And from there, you sit back and you watch your impact and your earnings grow. Once that project is funded, you'll get paid back on the project loan plus interest. Seeds also shows you the carbon offset equivalents of your investments so that you can go carbon neutral every week. As humans, we love to feel in control. We strive for progress. Data is powerful to help us feel empowered and to take action. We count our steps, we track our sleep, we compare calories, but the environment and the looming climate crisis are an area that we don't feel informed or empowered. So Seeds is the first environmental fintech to track the carbon offset equivalencies of your investments and enable you to offset your personal carbon footprint and even go climate positive, all while earning money. So here's why we're better than our competitors. Nobody is giving a return on investment and carbon offsets at the same time. You have full control over where your money goes by selecting the projects with full transparency. We're a mobile app, which is the future of financial services. And then additionally, we're bringing that barrier to entry down financially for that investment to just your spare change. You can get started with 10 cents, as opposed to our competition, which asks for 100, 250, 500 euros just to get started. And then additionally, we're creating a gamified experience so that this is something that even if you don't have a master's in renewable energy engineering, you can get involved and feel like this is intuitive and easy and fun, and that you are making a difference for the world. So here you can kind of see the competitive layout of the industry. And really what we're focusing on are these micro investments within the renewable energy space. And down there in the bottom right corner, those are all of the incumbents. They're all web portal based, which is not how our generation and the generation that is most engaged with climate change really interacts with financial services these days. And then additionally, like I mentioned, they ask for 250, 500, or 1,000 euros just to get started. And what we're doing is bringing that down to just your spare change so that anybody can get involved. And additionally, what we're doing is we're making this so that instead of a one-time investment where you go shoot for a big price tag, what we're focusing on is that every time you make a purchase, as you go throughout your life, without having to change your habits, you know that you're contributing to building a more positive future. So here's the way the seed cycle works, is that from our community, we take this spare change and collect it into that project fund. Once that project is funded, we provide project debt to renewable energy cooperatives who are constructing projects at the local level. From there, they build and construct the projects, which then, once they're operational, pays you back on that loan with interest. So really, here's kind of our value propositions. Again, then to the environmental community and to our retail investors, they can earn money and offset their carbon footprint at the same time. This is a really low cost entry to investing. And then additionally, it's automatic and easy so that as you're going about your day, you're not needing to make conscious investments, but rather building a savings over time. And then additionally, we're collecting the environmental movement into a community and showing people that they're not alone in their concern for the environment. Then for the renewable energy collectives, really what we're doing is we're bundling marketing and finance into one single financial product. At the moment, the companies building and deploying renewable energy projects are not household names. People don't know who's making a difference for the environment. And so what we will look to do is really build the image of the heroes of the climate movement so that everybody on Seeds knows exactly who's saving the world. So here you can see our market sizes. And so we start out at a high level of just the retail and anyone who can invest within the EU. And we work that down to then really the size of the environmental movement that turned out, plus additional retail investors. And you can see that based on our high-end market capitalization, we can generate over 20 million euros per month of additional renewable energy finance. That's over 265 million euros a year. And if we were to reach the full network of that 7.6 million people that turned out for those climate strikes back in September 2019, that would be over 1.6 billion euros per year of additional renewable energy finance that we're generating just from the roundups alone. So here's a big part of what makes Seed special, is the fact that we're really taking this towards a gamified direction, something that is fun to use and very engaging. What we have is badges and leaderboards so that you feel that you are getting achievements as you're making a difference for the world. The leaderboard works in that within your city, you can see who as an individual is making the biggest difference, as well as say join and make a group with your soccer team or your school, and then additionally have businesses. And so this way then you can compete to see who is really making the biggest difference within your community. On top of that, you can go above and beyond and actually become climate positive, where you've offset your carbon footprint and more, and then receive achievements on top of that. Additionally, we have tips and quizzes, which are a way to actually reduce your carbon footprint. And so with this, we're not just focusing on just drive consumption and offset your actions, but rather reduce at the same time. And so with that, it makes it easier for you to hit that carbon neutral goal on a weekly basis. So here you can see our team. By the end of July 2021, we'll have 8 master's degrees between the 4 of us, and we have the talents to make this happen. Additionally, we've been surrounding ourselves with an advisory board of industry veterans that is in line with our goal to build a company that's both gender and culturally diverse from the beginning. So far, we've had over 100 customer interviews, we've built our dynamic beta app, and as well as tested it with over 65 people. We've signed letters of intent to build projects with 2 companies now. And additionally, we've gone through Asade's eWorks Accelerator, which took us to a whole new level and really brought a very serious tone to what we're doing. Most recently, we placed first in both of our categories in the Red Bull Basement Contest for climate action and energy at the global level. So really what we're seeing is that we're having the early signs of product market fit. So here you can see I'll talk you through some of the milestones. So we started seeds in the idea back October 4th, 2019. Then from there, really our first validation was that we were selected as an entrepreneurial idea finalist in the Environmental Protection and Energy Conference in Poland. And that really got us realizing that we might have something. From there, we moved through the entire process to make sure that the idea was actually reasonable and we could pull it off legally and financially. From there, we started actually developing our product. And then we really just started applying to competitions and accelerators. And from there, we got into the EDPR University Challenge, where we were selected as one of the top 15 ideas in Spain. And then soon afterwards, we joined the ESADE eWorks Accelerator, and they brought both professional advising, financial resources, and really just having accountability to something greater than ourselves working just as a startup. Just recently, back in October, we legally established seeds in Barcelona, which is a big milestone for us. And then soon after that, we placed first place in the Red Bull Basement Contests. So now here's our plan moving forward. So first of all, we're here in November. Our next plan is to run a Kickstarter campaign. And from there, we can try and raise money with no strings attached. And that will allow us to really see both build additional marketing, bring in some cash so that we can begin to develop that minimum viable product that is more market ready, not just a beta that we can test with customers. At the moment, we're looking at new accelerators and ways to really take us to the new level. And we've been talking to venture capital firms to then also set up our pre-seed round to be able to really raise the capital that we need to build a more robust product as soon as we then have this minimum viable product in the market and achieve some key performance indicators that are exciting for venture capital. So from there, based on these results, we'll assess our real financial needs and potentially go to a friends and family round. From there, we plan to hire a full stack developer who can work in parallel with the software development firm that we are planning to work with. They specialize in building crowdfunding platforms, both web portals and mobile apps. And so that full stack developer will be able to work in parallel and have a linear continuity over the development of the program. This is what I mentioned of developing our minimum viable product with LenderKit, which is the company in particular. And that'll be a 3 to 4 month process. And we should be able to then begin financial compliance and additional beta testing with that minimum viable product during the summer. From there, we're going to begin the pre-seed fundraising process. That takes a long time, generally 3 to 6 months. So while we have at least 5 venture capital firms that we've been talking to and see our idea as very promising, oftentimes really what they want to see is that we have a product in market with traction and that shows exciting numbers, shows juicy growth, really, that they can invest in and see the kind of returns that they need for their funds. And upon graduation, our team is planning to take on seeds full time. And from there, around that same time, once our beta is ready to go and has the bugs fixed, we can then work through the financial process with the CNMV, the financial authority within Spain. So here, I'd really like to bring up 3 main points with seeds, is that we are a triple bottom line company that is people, planet, and profit. And really, we recognize that the environmental movement and the energy transition has to be inclusive. It has to focus on bringing people in and creating a movement that is stimulating and encouraging and incentivizing for the general populace. Part of using crowdfunding to build renewable energy projects is that it is a virtuous cycle that both democratizes, digitizes, and allows the environmental movement to profit from actually enacting the change that we need. And then as a planet, we need this here and now. We all know that. And so this is a way for us to sidestep the kind of incumbent powers that are slowing the environmental movement, and for us to make the change that we are demanding. And finally, at the moment, people really see climate change as just a crisis to be tackled and handled. But when in reality, this is the single largest opportunity for innovation and wealth creation in our generation, if not ever. And so we stand in an opportunity to really use new digital products to really redistribute the power of energy, which at the moment is very centralized. And so we can use that cycle of profit to redistribute the earnings of the energy transition back to the people and make this something that is a unique opportunity to grow as a society. So here I wanted to get into a little bit less about seeds and a little bit more into kind of the entrepreneurial experience. So to give just some traits to some of the newer InnoEnergy students who are joining, and I know they're beginning the entrepreneurial process with Asade, and really some of the things I wanted to highlight through my process here. I think one of the most key traits is optimism. From the beginning, you have to believe that you will see this through and that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that despite all of the challenges that come along the way, that you will succeed. You have to stay really focused. You can't get distracted at every opportunity along the way that presents itself and may seem like the shiny new opportunity. You have to focus on being the best at maximum two things. It is super hard to be even good at two things, and even better to just do one. So really, you have to really define exactly what your key product is and make sure that you are the best at that. Consistency is something that I realized that over the summer, I was putting in 10 and 12-hour days, thinking that I could somehow change the whole direction that we were going on as a company in any single day. And that, if I just put in more time and more effort, that it would make that difference. And really, I was burning myself out. And the reality is it's more about coming back every single day and putting in that time and making sure that you really wake up and continue to want to work towards what you're doing and to find real passion in what you think this vision and this company can be. Really resilient. A lot of people are not going to understand the value of what you're maybe trying to do. They're not going to see the vision. And a lot of people are going to tell you that it's not going to work. And if you really want to succeed in entrepreneurship, you have to be willing to, take that and be willing to stick to your guns and really see the value of what you're doing. I think that you have to be inherently comfortable taking risks. If you just sit in your comfort zone, you will never really reach the full potential of exactly what you're meant to achieve. And there will always be times when you just need to go and ask, take that risk, and you'd be surprised what people are either willing to negotiate on or what they're willing to give and help with. The vision is so key. You have to be able to sell people and lead people into seeing your way of thinking. And people want to believe. People really want to see that there is hope and a solution, and that if you can provide that, people want to contribute in any way possible. A big thing is being open-minded, and especially when working in a team, you have to be able to bring in all of the ideas. If it's just one single voice, you are only as good as any single person on the team. And some of the best parts of Seeds came from our team just sharing ideas and letting that bubble to the surface. And half of the idea is a combination of just, our co-founders' visions and dreams and ideas coming together. And then ambition. You have to really want something. You can't just believe that it's going to be some little product. It has to be a moonshot that you really want to put everything into. My personal leadership style, I think that the best way to lead is always by example. People are never going to believe you if you're not doing the things that you're saying. And really that just comes from going above and beyond and doing more than you ask of everybody else. I think freedom and responsibility of the people that are working on your team is incredibly important. You have to give people the freedom to build their own vision. You can't micromanage every single little piece of the product. And, you know, that is only when the creativity all comes together to build something really cool and exciting. And at the same time, while people have that freedom to bring their own vision in and to contribute their own parts, they have to have the responsibility that whatever piece of the product they have taken on is high quality, and that they're accountable to delivering something on time and that is high quality. And again, at the end of the day, especially in a startup, you have to be people oriented. You have to recognize that the people you're working with are going to be your best friends, and that you have to recognize that you have to support them in their lives and as people, and not just see them as people working for or with you, and really see that, you know, they have their own lives and their own emotions, and really recognize that that is one of the most key components to creating a team that really believes in your vision and wants to work. One extra little bit here is build your own personal brand as an entrepreneur. Nowadays, you have so many resources at your fingertips, especially LinkedIn, to build a personality around yourself that brings people towards you. LinkedIn is an amazing tool to really prove what a professional you are. And one of the best suggestions that I ever got from a girl who was one of the Forbes 30 under 30 is she recommended that I learn in public. And that as I bring in, you know, new insights from readings in class or from, you know, podcasts, different areas, that I show the world what I was learning. And in that way, you not only teach or show everybody that you really understand what you're talking about, but at the same time, you open discussion and build your presence as a professional. And that was one of the most key, I guess, suggestions that I could really give, is that, you know, build your network and create that personality that you want to see, you want people to see yourself as. Because as an entrepreneur, you have to kind of be a beacon of whatever you stand for. So then through the ideation process of really getting an idea, and then how do you figure out if there's actual value and business potential there? You got to go out and validate. You got to go and talk to people and see if they have that same pain that you believe they do. And then see, you know, really how do they work through that? What are the current solutions? You know, really look at the entire industry and see, is this a true pain? There is nothing worse than building a solution without a problem. We as engineers love solutions, but you have to make sure that there is a true business case problem for you to go and solve with whatever business you want to make. It's sometimes hard for engineers, but you have to talk to people. You have to go out and interview people in a very candid and open way, and not just your friends. Just talking to your friends will always give you a bias that is based on them wanting to support you. Your family will always nod and say yes and clap their hands at you. You have to go and talk to strangers. And they are the ones who will really give you the best feedback on your idea. And for us, I can say personally that taking the Seeds prototype and going to the Friday for Future marches here in Stockholm and testing it out with people who have never heard of the idea before, they have no idea what our vision is, was some of the best feedback we could have ever gotten. And that's because here are people who are incredibly passionate about the environmental movement, and yet our product made no sense to them. Absolutely none. And we realized that we as renewable energy engineers were way too deep. We were way too familiar with exactly what we were working on. And we had to take then that, 1,000-kilometer view and look back and go, okay, we need to make this much more high level, much more, engaging and fun, and that, if this is our target clients and they don't understand it, then we're not quite doing this right. And you can only do that by talking to people. Then go out and test and measure. It's something that, if you are looking at what's going to be the best marketing for us, run a campaign, see your engagement, and then measure exactly how much traction you got from that. You have to measure everything. That is something that we as engineers are really good at. And, while marketing in some of these arenas may seem a little bit intimidating, just measuring and recognizing that if you're systematic about the process that you go through as you watch your growth on, say, social media or people signing up to use your product, and correlate that to what you're doing at the time, you can see that there's a cause and effect that is very satisfying, I would say, as an engineer. And finally, social proof. You got to enter yourself into contests and really get your name out there, because people really believe in something that has been validated by other people. It's like the analogy of if you're going to dinner and you see two restaurants. One is completely empty and one is full of people laughing and having a good time. Which one are you going to want to go to? The one that's full of people. And that in itself is proof that the food is good, that the atmosphere is nice. And really, when you have these kinds of titles that you build up over time, that gives people faith in your vision and what you're going for. So a little bit about the acceleration process. I would say really cast a wide net. We did apply to multiple accelerators and did not get into all of them. And that just shows that, again, not everyone will see your vision. Not everyone will understand what you're trying to build. And so you really need to just have as many options on the table. And you'd be surprised that really by going out there and being able to actually leverage these offers against each other is very powerful. Again, once you're in an accelerator, that's just the beginning. It's not like you get in and then you're good to go. As soon as you get in, you hit the ground running. And so you need to be prepared to go on it as soon as possible. And then with an accelerator, they're just providing guidance. No one will ever actually do the heavy lifting for you through the entrepreneurial process. And so with that, you need to be ready, again, to take their advice and sometimes hear some things that are not easy to swallow, but be ready to make those improvements. We went through Asade's eWorks Accelerator. If any of you are interested in joining that as well, I have the contact of the coordinator and as well as information on how to get involved. Reach out to me after the presentation. I'd be happy to help any of you get involved. And then with the venture capital process, never stop pitching. You have to knock on every single door. You will always be pitching and always raising money. It is something that you perfect your pitch over time. And the only way to do that is just keep going, get more introductions, and just keep knocking on doors. Don't be afraid to ask. When it comes to negotiating contracts within seeds, there have been times where I know that there has been reservation in our team to ask for bold negotiations. And at the end of the day, just by asking and framing it correctly, we got what we wanted. And that's important because as a young entrepreneur, you can't be feeling like you are, you need to take the first offer that comes to you. You need to recognize that if you don't, you may be naive and they may take advantage of you. So being bold and going above and beyond will prove not only that you know what you're talking about, but that you'll actually do the same for them in the future. They don't want to just invest in someone who rolls over and gives away a piece of their company for nothing. They want to believe that in the future, if they invest in you, that they'll get genuine hard work and negotiation out of you. And then as well as, really being aware of how the venture capital industry works. And I would really recommend to anybody who is interested in both entrepreneurship or getting into venture capital, this podcast here, the 20-Minute VC with Harry Stebbings, is one of the best ways to really get up to speed, really get involved with the industry and to hear from the people closing these kinds of deals and really begin to kind of get up to speed with an understanding of exactly how everything works And from there, I think it's good preparation for then, having your feet firmly planted on the ground, being down to earth and ready to move into that process with clear eyes and, knowing exactly what they're looking for, making sure that your company is kind of formed into a product that is desirable for them. So that's the end of what I prepared. I'm happy to take some questions now, if anyone has anything, as well as there is a link to our Seeds website, my contact information, and I would really appreciate it if you went to our social media and gave us a follow so that you can continue to keep up with our process. And again, really provide that social proof so that we can continue to grow and prove to people that we're on the up. So thank you, Osfan, for giving me this opportunity to present to everybody, and I'd be happy to take some questions.
Excellent presentation, William. It's a very good product market fit, and being your classmate, I have seen your startup go from ideation to registering as a company in Barcelona. So your journey is a very good source of inspiration for a lot of first-year InnoEnergy students who will be embarking on a similar journey. And it is a very good opportunity for you all to ask questions. If you could raise your hand and unmute yourself afterwards.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there something that you wish you did differently when you were doing your NVCP project?
Let me say, I would say I wish I picked a team a little bit more strategically. We took a very kind of open approach to picking the team. There was literally just a point where the teacher went, okay, who would be interested in starting a company? And I picked the people that raised their hand, to be quite honest. And unfortunately, one of our teammates did not really contribute much throughout the process. And, that happens through the NVCP process, but it could have been something that through a little bit more, I would say, close selection and kind of thinking maybe could have been something we would have avoided. I would say the NVCP project is really what you make of it. If you kind of want to just treat it like a school project, it can just be a school project. But if you want to take it above and beyond and really begin the process of creating a company, Asade will support you really, really well. And their mentors in the same way will really connect you to anyone that you try and ask for. So I hope that answers anything.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We do have a question in the chat. Irina is asking, are you planning to launch in one specific country first or multiple at once?
Yeah, so our plan is to start in Spain first. That is just because where we are registered, it is where there is an abundance of renewable resources. And really kind of the driving factor behind that is that there is a brand new piece of legislation called the European Crowdfunding Service Provider. And it is something that was only passed into legislation December 19th, 2019. And it creates a brand new investor class for renewable energy crowdfunding platforms. So in the past, say we wanted to be registered in Spain, if we wanted to go build a project in Germany, we would have to go and establish a brand new branch of our company in Germany and do that for any country that we wanted to expand into. Now, this new investor passport allows us to build projects anywhere in the EU without needing to go through that process. We can just be headquartered in Spain. The problem is that there is a financial compliance cost and licensing fees that go with that. And so to gain access to that investor classification requires about an additional 100,000 euros to be able to get started. And so that's why we really want to get the proof of concept in Spain first. That's where the companies that we have signed deals with to actually build projects with are located. From there, once we can prove that we have those, pilot projects have been successfully run, and that from there are, the primary concept of seeds, using the spare change investments to build projects, that works and that our customers like it. From there, we can actually expand out into the EU.
Very good.
Cool, thanks. It's really, really interesting, and I didn't know about this law. And I have another questions regarding the projects that, let's say, will be possible to be funded through the app. Are those projects something that you're going to look for yourself, or anyone, let's say, can kind of post their own crowdsourcing project there? Yeah, or how would that look like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we, the companies that we have been primarily partnering with are commercial entities, so not individuals. We are partnering with renewable energy cooperatives, which are companies that own generation assets at a community level. And from there, they are looking to kind of expand their footprint. They are traditionally underserved by commercial banks because they're often building projects that are a little bit below what your traditional commercial bank wants to invest in. Commercial banks often want to invest in a project that's 100 million euros or bigger. With crowdfunding, we're capped at 5 million euros. So we have a really good product market fit between these renewable energy cooperatives. And then from there, they are kind of the grassroots level of the energy transition. And so what we see is that we can really inject capital into these organizations for them to be able to develop projects rapidly and really see that growth. And they are beginning to really transition into the owning and operation of their own generation assets instead of just being energy retailers. What we do is we do run a due diligence process on these projects. And then that way we make sure that they have, the projected cash flows to meet our investors' expectations. And they're both then technologically feasible, and that, all of, say, the warranties on the technology are there, that the permits are there, and that, we have insurance in line as well. So.
Thanks.
Hello, Marco speaking here. First of all, congrats for the product, very amazing. I have some questions related to the investments. Mm-hmm. So I had a couple of years ago invest my money in some other platform for crowd lending. Mm-hmm. And what it was surprising me is that I didn't really know. I mean, it was my bad, of course, but since it was a platform from another country, so back then I was living in France, and the platform was not a French one, so mm-hmm. I had to pay tax for that investment. And what I would like to know is, since this new platform is going to be based in Spain, so do you know pretty much how would be roughly how it could be the taxation for those investments coming from a country outside Spain? Or maybe it's too early to know?
I know that you will have to pay capital gains just like any other investment. But that being said, I actually don't know the individual kind of tax ramifications for the investors. That's a good question. I'll look into that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's one question by Toto. If you could unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yes, thank you for your presentation and congrats on the idea. I like it very much. I just have a couple of questions, and the first is about the return of investment that you guarantee to your customers that are the investors. So does it depend on the profitability on the project they're gonna invest on, or it is initially set by the service that you offer? I mean, what if I invest in a project that will show to be not profitable in the short term? So who guarantees the return of the investment of the customer to the app, and how the profitability of the project I invest affect my own profit as a client of Seeds.
Yeah. So for one, that is what we do through the technical and financial due diligence. That the project, say it's built in Spain, that you're going to have, say, sufficient capacity factor on that project to be able to then meet X amount of generation to pay the loan back with that interest. And so the nice thing is that we are dealing in debt. We're not dealing in equity, where you have that variability of, kind of the valuation of the project over time. With debt, it's just like issuing a car loan or a house loan, where that project is set to give that, say, 6% on an annual basis. And those are generally paid out on a monthly basis in annuities. And so we can guarantee you that as long as, say, that project is set to hit its financial returns, then yes, you will get paid back, say, that 5.5 to 7.5% return on investment on a monthly basis. And from there, then as long as we then have, say, power purchase agreements with the community, the renewable energy cooperatives, or say schools or industrial buildings, then you should be pretty set for 20 to 25 years of the power being off taken from those assets, while the loan will probably have a term of more like 5 to 8 years.
Okay, but then, if I am a customer and I'm not an engineer, I have not financial skills, I'm just an average person, how can I choose my project to invest on? Because let's say I'm enthusiastic of the idea, I want to help the energy transition, but I have no previous background or knowledge in order to identify the right project by myself. Will there be any indications by the app, or how could I identify a project that may be profitable for me?
Yeah, so we plan on having filters within the app that allow you to, say, filter by the highest return on investment, the highest environmental impact. And with that, say, consider this: a project that is built in Spain will have a very different carbon footprint offset to one built in Poland. Poland has much more coal in its energy system. So the same amount of energy offset in Poland will offset much more carbon than in Spain. So we can then tell you that, rank these projects based on their environmental impact, as well as then we could, say, filter them by how far and how far along the crowdfunding process is, the length of the loan term, any criteria that you want in a very simplified way. And in that, it caters to the two kind of client segments that we have. The really environmental focused may just want the maximum impact, offset their carbon footprint, all planet. Then we have that retail investor side that, they, like you're saying, want to just focus on how do I get the best return on investment while at the same time, driving the energy transition. Super simple, filtered, high to low.
Okay, thank you. But what is not clear yet to me is that once I choose to invest in a specific project, the interest rate, so the return on investment, will be initially set, or will depend on the profitability of the project, or kind of both?
Originally set. So that goes into signing the contract with the renewable energy cooperative. They will be signing onto that loan with a set annual percent return.
Okay, so independently from the profitability. So even if the project will be not profitable for the company, I will get my money back, my loan back with the interest. Is that correct?
Yes. So they would be responsible for paying that loan back regardless of the profitability of the project.
Okay, thank you. No more questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. If we could have further more questions, you may all raise your hand or drop a message in the chat.
Anybody else?
I guess this is it. Thank you, William. It was a pleasure having you. Your journey in Seeds is a source of inspiration, as I've already stated. The audience over here, I think, have gained a lot in terms of what the journey is in entrepreneurship, what opportunities there are, what competitions they can take part in. As a manager of the local community, we strive to bring speakers who display high potential, and we plan on having similar events in the future. So if you want to contact William, you have his contact details on this slide, and you may drop him a message and ask him questions if you want. And this is pretty much it. We would be getting back to you further with events, and it was lovely having you all over here, and your questions were very good in terms of getting information. And this is pretty much it from our side. Thank you all.
Thank you for the opportunity to present, Osfan, and everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Will. Nice to hear from you.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you.